Watch this.
You probably didn't need us to tell you this, but it has been one of Idaho's worst fire seasons in recent memory. They're damaging and costly. But just how much has Idaho spent so far, and where does that money come from?
I think a lot of people thought, oh, this is a compassionate way to deal with this problem. But when you see it firsthand, it is not compassionate. It's incredibly sad.
You didn't have to go too far to see what Oregon's decriminalizing drugs did to some of its smaller towns. We did, and now that they put some teeth back into their laws, we're checking back in. Certain books have been the center of attention recently. Challenged, banned, whatever you want to call them, this week they are taking center stage and being offered for free from a VW van.
This year was above average in pretty much every respect, a wildfire across the state.
Well, the end of September has historically meant we're nearing the end of another fire season. But since the 1970s, the length of that annual marker has grown from 5 months on average to 7. The size of fires and how much they've burned every year has also exploded, according to the U.S. Department of Ag. The average burn time of a specific fire has moved from 6 days to 52. You can imagine how that translates to cost of controlling them. Idaho's Department of Land's Fire Bureau Chief told Joe Paris this year's fire season has been one of the most damaging and costly than any other in recent years. Oregon, well, they're still dealing with their most expensive fire season ever. The smoke we've dealt with this summer might have given you a hint on that. But that wasn't all Josh Harvey told Joe Paris.
Kids are back in school, football is back on the blue, and flannel is fine fashion. All signs that summer is gone. But wildland firefighters across Idaho are still dealing with the summer staple.
There's constant analysis going on week to week, trying to make the best decision we can to put the right resources where we need them across the state.
Josh Harvey is the Fire Bureau Chief for the Idaho Department of Lands. Seems like being in a taxi, watching the fare meter. Numbers going up as the ride is almost done. But the charges, they'll keep coming until the ride is over.
Around $50 to $55 million in fire suppression costs for the state of Idaho.
That's double what Idaho has seen in recent years.
It is higher than our average. You know, we generally are looking at a $25 to $35 million fire season is normal, if there is a normal anymore. But this year was above average in pretty much every respect, a wildfire across the state.
In the state of Oregon, there are concerns with their budget, attributed to the most expensive wildfire season in Oregon history. Oregon's Department of Forestry is out of money to make payroll. They're requesting close to $50 million in emergency funds, and that's just to start. Idaho, too, has had a costly year, but Harvey says there is more cushion in the Gem State budget. It goes back to how the legislature and the governor dedicated funds for the year. Still, though, the meter is running.
The governor pre-funded the fire suppression account last year, I think to the tune of about $68 million.
So could Idaho soon be in a similar situation to our neighbors just west? Up to $55 million spent so far, with another about $10 million left in the bucket, as fires are still burning.
I don't necessarily see a scenario where we run out of money. There's constant analysis going on week to week, trying to make the best decision we can to put the right resources where we need them across the state.
Resources around Idaho have been a constant conversation, especially the differences between state and federal land. There are simply inherent differences between federal and state strategy, and that's not new. Those orders come from the top. The people on the ground, though, are doing their best no matter what.
I think our federal interagency partners have a lot of challenges on the ground that they're responsible for. There's a lot of influences in how those lands are managed, and I really can't speak to their policies and how they operate. But I think some of the things that really make us successful, the access that we have, that active management, really opens up ability for us to have access to all of the ground that's out there that's in our responsibility.
So this is the time of year why fire managers and Idaho, I guess advocates you could call them, talk about logging and thinning out resources, because they say if you're able to kind of cut down on some of the extra fuel, especially late in the season, it is a lot easier to deal with. And Brian, I just also want to add, the state of Idaho, they also had a $17 million that the governor signed off on that went into a state fire suppression deficiency fund that was just in the event that this year or future years that Idaho would run out of money. So there is about $10-ish million left in that allocation the governor put out for this year. In case they had to go through that, though, there is $17 million that is waiting in a pot for this year or future years.
25 to 30 million on average. What made them load up that bank account to 68 this year?
Yeah, when I was talking with Josh, a lot of it is about forecasting, and they can take a look at the fuels that are out there. They can take a look at the year that it was in terms of water years and moisture years, and they use algorithms. They use science to work through that and get a good estimate. However, Josh will admit it is hard to pin that down.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. All right, well, let's stay in the 541 for a moment. A little more than 3 years ago, voters in the state of Oregon decided it would decriminalize certain drugs like meth, heroin, or cocaine, meaning instead of a year in prison and a hefty fine, getting caught with a small amount could get you just a $100 fine, or you could sign up for drug treatment, paid for by the state's legal marijuana tax. A year after it went into effect, in 2022, we dropped into Malheur County to see how it was going. Well, it wasn't good, according to law enforcement. More people were on the streets, there was a rise of public drug use, and businesses in Ontario were worried about safety. And it wasn't just happening in eastern Oregon. So this year, the Oregon legislature rolled back some of Measure 110, meaning this month, certain drugs are criminalized again. Possession is also back on the table for jail time. Getting caught, and you could get put on an 18-month probation period. Violate that, you could spend 30 days or up to 6 months in jail. Okay, so Aspen Shumpert, still too early to tell kind of what the effects of this new law being back into effect, but I mean, you talked to the Malheur County Sheriff today. What is he saying?
Yeah, Brian, he said in terms of seeing changes, it hasn't even been a month yet really looking at that. But he says during the decriminalization period, they saw not just an influx of people coming into Oregon to use without consequence, but also an increase in their unhoused population. Today's numbers show over 400 people unhoused in the county, most of who are just outside of Ontario by Highway 201 and Interstate 84. He says they don't expect to see immediate improvements.
It's going to take a long time to undo these problems. You know, if you have 3 years of this going on, I think you could expect at least that or longer to really try to deal with and get a handle on the issues that we've created.
He says the recriminalization is a boost in the right direction and that they are arresting and citing people for drug use now, but that he thinks the penalties could have gone even further. And at this time, it's hard to tell if the penalties this time around will be enough for a change.
A lot of these folks, even though they're caught with user amounts or small amounts of drugs, they're not going to even spend a night in jail. They'll be released immediately after, most likely you'll get a citation or maybe booked and released. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out if we're able to get them into the system and actually working to improve, or if that's going to be enough consequence to really make them do that.
Now, Senate Bill 5204 does provide new funding for behavioral health and treatment programs. Sheriff Johnson says they've received $150,000, which they will use to start a deflection program. It will be similar to the diversion program they've had in place for the last several years. It will continue to help people get resources and into treatment programs like substance abuse programs. Brian, he does say that $150,000 is a small amount to get a program like this up and running. They plan to roll this program out in October, but they look forward to cleaning up the county and trying to make it a safer place.
Yeah, kind of a work in progress. A lot of people criticizing the decriminalization as going just too far, so kind of rolling that back. All right, see how it plays out. Thank you very much, Aspen.
It's the #1 vegetable grown in Oregon. It's the #1 vegetable consumed in the entire United States. Part of the reason why we're doing it is the same thing that's done so well in Idaho, and that is marketing.
Aren't you worried about stepping on any toes of, say, I don't know, one of your neighbors?
No.
Okay, those toes were stepped on long ago. That was State Senator Bill Hansel from Northeastern Oregon, who spoke to us more than a year ago when Oregon was considering making the potato the state vegetable of the beaver state. Despite being only the 4th largest potato producer in the United States, Senator Hansel's resolution was passed in June of 2023. And yesterday in Salem, well, they made it official. They, in fact, set it in stone. A plaque was unveiled inside the stepping stones outside the Oregon State Capitol building in front of a crowd of about 50 people. French fries, though, they were provided by Lamb Weston. That's tasty. Because of their popularity at home and abroad, potatoes and the dedicated farmers who grow them play an integral role in the state's economy, the plaque said. More than $200 million a year, we're told. Billions of pounds are grown annually across the state. A significant portion of U.S. potato production, it says. Okay, significant, doing a lot of work in that marble slab. Oregon, 2.5 billion pounds a year. Idaho producing nearly 14 billion every year. But as you heard Senator Hansel say, who, by the way, represents Oregon's primary potato producers in that part of the state, it's all about the marketing. So they may not get to use the famous potatoes phrase, but maybe they can trademark, I don't know, famous for fourth in potatoes? Now that the lawsuit is over, we're finally hearing from the owner of Big City Coffee and why she closed her only location in downtown Boise right before the trial. Hunter Funk tells us what she told her and more in today's 411.
Suspect Stephanie Ann Ketterman is now charged with the killing of K-9 Officer Riddick. The felony is for killing and otherwise mistreating police dogs, police horses, search and rescue dogs, and detention dogs. She was originally charged with a misdemeanor, but the judge corrected the charge. Her bond is set for $1 million. The other suspect, Tanner Howe, is headed back to prison for parole violations. The Nampa Police Department says the memorial service for K-9 Riddick will be on Tuesday, October 1st at 6 p.m. It'll be at the Idaho Police K-9 Memorial in Meridian, and the community is welcome to join. An Idaho man is charged with threatening to kill former President Donald Trump. According to court documents, Warren Jones, Crazy Bull, made at least 9 threatening phone calls to the former president's Mar-a-Lago residence in July. Authorities say a Facebook page believed to belong to Crazy Bull had more threats towards Trump. Secret Service detained Crazy Bull on August 1st. He pled not guilty to making the threats at his indictment on August 20th. The owner of Big City Coffee finally told us why she closed the downtown Boise location before her trial with Boise State. After a 3-week trial, a jury decided 2 Boise State University administrators retaliated against a local coffee shop a few years ago based on the coffee shop's First Amendment rights. The owner was awarded $4 million for the case. However, Big City Coffee still closed their downtown location a week before trial. The owner wrote in part, quote, "This fight for the truth in this trial after 4 years took so much from me that I had nothing left for Big City. I chose to close in early August before the trial so I could focus on that. It was the hardest decision to make, and it was painful to think about Big City being gone," end quote. She went on to say she is grateful for the jury and verdict and doesn't know what the future will hold. Boise State has until just before the end of October to file an appeal. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Hunter Funk.
Now, bookmobiles have had a slight resurgence recently in the Treasure Valley. I believe Garden City has had one, Meridian has one, while Nampa and Ada County have jumped on the bus in the last couple of years. It's a great concept, bringing books to the people. About 7 years ago, a couple of friends and neighbors teamed up to bring the VW bookmobile to the streets. There, they offer books either bought or donated for free, and they do this all year round. But for 1 week a year, the American Library Association Banned Book Week, which is this week, access to books takes on a new meaning. Photojournalist Jason Foster takes us there.
Ellie, I have this book.
Gosh, we just give out free books.
It's all free. Take whatever you want.
Well, this week is National Banned Book Week.
This here is our bookmobile that gives out free books. To find something during American Library Association's National Banned Book Week.
Why books? Because we want to celebrate our freedom to read and our First Amendment rights.
This started about 11 years ago, or 12 years ago.
My good buddy Jess Briggs, who happens to be my neighbor, used to have a bucket bike that she would drive around during Banned Book Week.
At the beginning, I essentially gave away books.
And when I moved in and had my Volkswagen van, I was like, hey, I'd like to be part of this. Can we turn the Volkswagen van into a mobile book library? And that's kind of how it started.
You have to read it. It's so good.
Hey guys, there's free books right here.
Chad and I essentially bring the bus out. We give away free books. We give away information about the most challenged and banned books across the United States. I do understand why people find it controversial.
Banned books is really kind of a misnomer because in the United States, it's really difficult to ban a book. In fact, you can't. We have a First Amendment right.
It brought up more things in my mind that I wanted to discuss with people. I enjoyed giving away books. I enjoyed talking about the politics of it.
We've had legislation that's been recently passed related to removal of books.
Idaho is a hot spot, so we obviously talk about that as well.
At the end of the day, I think that books are really non-political.
It's incredibly important in the state and across the nation.
That people should just be able to read what they want, when they want.
Are there any series you really like? Myself, as a parent, I go to the children's library with my child. We pick out books together, we read them. If I think a book is not appropriate for them, I don't pick that book.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, take care.
Much.
The banned book section always goes quickly.
Really, the goal is just to give out free books.
That's a beautiful
Get
book.
that one. It's also just fun. It's just a wonderful way to interact with the community and give back.
Hey, you're very welcome. Take care.
Bye. Have a good day.
We're here to say the banned book section goes quickly. The most requested books they give away, those that have been banned or been challenged in either Idaho or Florida. This year, Banned Book Week opened alongside Open Streets Boise, as you saw there, and the VW had its biggest turnout ever. They gave away about 700 books Sunday, the most ever in a single day. So you can see why they're always looking for donated books. And the best way to donate is to contact them through their Instagram page at VW Bookmobile or emailing them at vwbookmobile@gmail.com. We'll have a link in this story on our website at ktvb.com. The next book giveaway, by the way, this Saturday at Hyde Park.
Well, we have a lot of sunshine today, so I'll show this to you from a different angle, okay? We're starting out here with our satellite radar. And of course, as it continues through the day, you see the clear conditions that we have throughout the area. I'm moving up into the northwest. This is where the whole detail of what's really going on. Right now, we have high pressure over the area, and we're starting to bring up that direct southerly flow, as you can see along through here. Now, temperatures are going to be getting up around 92 degrees for tomorrow. Here's the change. Here's the frontal system out through here. There's the low pressure system. We call this a trough right through here. That gathers cooler air down into this area. So as that comes through tomorrow, a couple of things will happen. Some thunderstorms are possible toward the mountains. It's a fairly weak front, at least at this point. So it doesn't look as though it's going to provide us with a lot of thunderstorms in the valley. But it will pick up some of the winds for tomorrow afternoon. And behind it is a 10-degree temperature drop for Thursday. So 92 for tomorrow. And then on Thursday, the high temperature is going to be at 82 degrees. So if you take a look here, this is the 10-day temperature trend. Now, some of these temperatures are going to be up. You see the 92 for Wednesday, and then when you look at Saturday, we still have a 91. Temperatures will come down for Thursday, and then they kind of climb once again, and then they fall once again, which is a big portion of using the term fall because we have storm systems moving to our north that activate this. Temperatures go up, and then they fall. Now, you notice that they're going to be falling even quite a bit more as we get more toward the end of next week, as some of those temperatures are going to be down, as you can see, into the 70s. Nighttime lows, we're not looking at really cold, but we've got some 50s, and then you can see there is a 49 degrees, which is next Monday. Some of those mornings can be kind of chilly. I can tell you that. Those 50s aren't exactly warm.
But only into the 40s, upper 40s, that's not too bad.
No, that's bad. I hope not.
You know, Rick, we're winding down your 42-year career here at KTVB at Idaho News Channel 7 by looking back at some of your memorable moments. 42 years, we had a lot to go through, but we're going to pick one today that's a little bit more recent. We didn't have to go back that far. It was during the pandemic. You probably remember this, obviously, and we were bringing you the 208, not just from the studio here, but a lot of us from our homes. Rick doing the forecast from your home, which meant a lot of viewers were getting a glimpse into some of our private lives. And many of you had a lot of questions specifically about Rick's model car collection. It's automatic. People tend to notice things, especially when they change. Like what's right next to Rick or behind him. And it's driving you crazy, we know. Because every day we get flooded with messages. Each one geared towards the cars on Rick's desk. Are they his? How many does he have? And what will he have next? Okay, so at the end of that, when we first did that story, you were, again, at home, and you showed us the entire collection, basically covered the table the size of this studio
It was.
table.
I took it into the dining room table, so I had quite a few. And of course, in the room that I did the weather, I only had room for so many.
Right.
So I had to stick them in boxes and put them underneath, that like beds and different things like that.
And you constantly change them every day.
I did. I did that because it was kind of started out as a little joke on the viewer. I just wanted to see how long it would take. I thought it would take a couple of weeks, but they were on this and on you within a day or two, weren't they?
Right away. Look at all those cars on the table there, and then you were kind of giving a demonstration. What got you into this?
I think I went around and all of these I bought on sale prices. I got to tell you that. When I went on vacation, I'd stop by a Toys R Us, and I wouldn't think, why would I bother with a Toys for Us? But then I'd go over and I'd saw the die-cast cars are kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I just picked up one, and then I had another one. And I said, I've always wanted something like this, so I got that, and then all of a sudden, there you have it.
Okay, so how many do you have total? Do you know?
I think I have around 25 or something like that. It's not that crazy, but I've had people tell me, they said, come over to my house. I go, the garage is full of them. It's quite a collection. I didn't know there were so many collectors out there.
Well, now you have something to play with in your retirement.
I do.
Some time to kill.
Get
All right.
more cars, huh?
Thanks, Rick. All right, let's get to your comments on this Tuesday. This one from Wilbur Nampa says, years ago, fires were fought. Now they're managed. Seems like fighting them might be a better way to go about it. Well, managed, I guess, and sometimes people say they're not really managed well enough, but there's a lot of people spread thin out there fighting fires. So when it comes to managing, sometimes they just don't have the resources to do that. Let's take a look at the next one here. The next one is, I read banned books when I was a kid, and all I got was Smarter. Let our kids learn to think on their own and for themselves, says Katie in Boise. Finally, I love what the banned book lady said about going to the library with her kids to monitor their book choices. Parenting, what a kooky idea. We'll see you tomorrow.